Soon as I come through, I let that chopper off. Pow, pow. That's not a chopper sound. I'm sorry. Soon as I come through, I kill everybody. We killing one person. No, we kill everybody. When I'm in the club, I make it rain. I'm gonna pick that. No, we not.
This is the story of Marquita McCleary Neroes, a loving mother and a woman determined to reclaim her happiness. At just 28 years old, Marquita had a bright future ahead of her, but her life was tragically cut short by the very person who had once vowed to love and protect her, her husband, Ashton Neroes. On a chilling October night, Marquita's young son heard his mother's terrified scream, her final plea for help, followed by the chilling sound of gunshots. Moments later, Ashton calmly walked out, as if nothing had happened. What led to that fateful night? Did a failing marriage and hidden secrets drive him to commit the unthinkable, or was it a desperate attempt to maintain control? Welcome to Viral Crimes. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. This story takes us to Mesquite, Texas, a suburban city just east of Dallas. Mesquite is known for its family-friendly neighborhoods and thriving local businesses. It's a place where neighbors look out for each other, making the tragedy that unfolded here more shocking. Marquita Neroes was a 28-year-old young woman whose life was filled with love, ambition, and devotion to her family. She was born on December 13, 1991, in Dallas, Texas. Marquita grew up in a close-knit household. Marquita was a mother to 3 beautiful children. They were the center of her world, and she dedicated herself to providing them with a nurturing and supportive home. She cherished every moment with them, whether it was helping with schoolwork, celebrating milestones, or simply showering them with love and encouragement.
Make her turn her music on. I can turn my music off. Make her turn her music on. Come on, man. One, two. Hold on, what's the song off of, what's the thing? See, if you get high, you got to get out the gate. Oh, please. If you get high, you got to get out the gate. Oh, get out the gate.
Marquita was a hardworking woman with a bright future ahead of her. A true entrepreneur at heart, she was the founder and CEO of Everything That Glitters, hair and eyelash distributor. Through her business, she provided high-quality beauty products and inspired other women to embrace their confidence and independence. Her passion for beauty and self-care was evident in her work, and she built a reputation for excellence and dedication.
Fully stocked. 10 through 30. New vendor. What y'all want? I got them if y'all need them. There's so many of them. I got them if you need them.
All good quality too.
Ain't no shortage over here.
All good quality. For sure. And we not just gonna go live about her, we're gonna go live about a lot of things. Relationship, different goals we trying to achieve. Trying to help people, motivate people. We're gonna do all it.
We even collaborate.
Collab. I'm starting back doing my cuts, my tattoos.
In Marquita McCleary's life, there was one person who played a significant role, her husband, Ashton Neroes. Ashton was a prominent figure on social media, known for sharing inspirational messages, religious scripture, and glimpses of his family life. He even ran a YouTube channel under the name Best Dad, portraying himself as a devoted father. He frequently posted about his happy family on Facebook under the name of Chief Neroes. To outsiders, he and Marquita appeared to have a picture-perfect family, but behind closed doors, their relationship was troubled. Marquita and Ashton had been married for 5 years and shared 3 children. While their relationship started with love and hope for the future, things took a dark turn over time. Their marriage was marked by frequent arguments, and Marquita eventually decided to file for divorce. Reports suggest that Ashton had an affair, which deeply hurt Marquita and contributed to her decision to leave the marriage. Friends and family were aware of the tension between them. Ashton had reportedly displayed controlling behavior, and Marquita had confided in those close to her about their issues. At one point, she even hid his firearm from him after he had pulled it out during an argument, fearing what could happen. Despite this, Ashton later purchased another gun. Even as their marriage deteriorated, Ashton continued to present himself online as a loving husband and father. However, just days before Marquita's death, he made unsettling posts on social media, hinting at his inner turmoil. The facade he maintained on platforms like Facebook and YouTube sharply contrasted with the reality of their strained relationship, which made Marquita's life take a tragic turn. On a Sunday evening, October 18, 2020, a tragedy struck at an apartment complex in Mesquite, Texas. Marquita was shot multiple times in her own home by her husband, Ashton Neroes. The crime, which left their young son as a witness, shook the community and devastated Marquita's family. What had once seemed like a happy marriage, at least on the surface, had spiraled into a case of domestic violence that ended in murder. That evening, Marquita and her 8-year-old son arrived at their apartment. Almost immediately, an argument broke out between Marquita and Ashton inside their bedroom. Their son was in another room when he heard his mother scream his nickname, Puta, in desperation. Then, gunshots rang out, multiple shots, fired in rapid succession. Terrified, their son ran out of the apartment, looking for help. Outside, he found 2 neighbors in the parking lot and told them, through his panic, "I think my dad shot my mom." The neighbors immediately called 911. They later described the young boy as being in shock, hysterical, and terrified. Meanwhile, Ashton walked out of the apartment. His demeanor was eerily calm. One of the neighbors testified that he looked as if nothing had happened, while another said he appeared angry, but not threatening. Instead of staying at the scene, Ashton took his son, put him in the car, and drove off. He didn't say much. He simply dropped the son off at Marquita's parents' house, leaving the child standing at the front door, barefoot and shirtless. Before leaving, Ashton told his son he loved him and handed him a Bible. It was an ominous and haunting farewell. Jessica Brown, Marquita's sister, was home when she received a notification from their Ring doorbell camera. She checked her phone and saw her nephew standing outside, visibly distraught, wiping his eyes. The child didn't say much. Instead, he walked inside and laid down in a bedroom, exhausted and overwhelmed by what had just happened. At the same time, Marquita's father, Mark, also saw the Ring notification. He rushed home, unaware of the full extent of what had occurred. As Mark was driving, he received a notification from Facebook. It was a post from Ashton's account. The words were chilling. "Never got closure, but I'll walk away a winner regardless." The full horror of the situation was soon confirmed when Mesquite police arrived at the apartment complex in the 1700 block of Oates Drive in Mesquite, just east of Interstate Loop 635 and north of Interstate 30. Inside Ashton and Marquita's apartment, they found Marquita's lifeless body, which had been struck by 8 gunshots, resulting in a total of 16 gunshot wounds, including both entry and exit wounds. The shots had been concentrated in her upper torso, abdomen, and arms. There were no signs that she had been able to fight back. There was no weapon in her possession. She had been gunned down in what should have been the safety of her home. That same evening, Ashton made his way to the Lou Sterrett jail in Dallas. Upon arriving, he approached Deputy Jeffrey Timms and calmly admitted to what he had done. He said, "I killed my wife. I murdered my wife." There was no attempt to run, no struggle, no remorse evident in his words. Timms, taken aback by the confession, proceeded to detain him. Investigators later searched Ashton's car and apartment, finding 8 shell casings, but not the gun itself. Ashton had disposed of the murder weapon and later claimed that he couldn't remember where. His initial bond amount was set to $100,000 when he was arrested and charged with murder. Later reports indicate that his bond was increased to $250,000 before his conviction. The investigation soon uncovered a troubled marriage. Marquita had recently discovered Ashton was having an affair and she had decided she wanted a divorce. Court documents showed that both had signed divorce papers. Marquita's father later found the documents in the apartment alongside a receipt for a Smith & Wesson handgun, the same type of gun that had been used to kill Marquita. Additionally, evidence from the trial confirmed that Ashton Neroes purchased a Smith & Wesson .40 caliber gun on August 25, 2020. In the weeks leading up to the murder, Ashton had been posting cryptic messages on social media. 3 days before the killing, he wrote, "Rebuilding from scratch." Then, just before Marquita's death, he posted the now infamous message about never getting closure. As the case proceeded to trial, Ashton pleaded not guilty, claiming he had not intended to kill Marquita. He took the stand in his own defense, describing the events of that fateful night in fragmented, incoherent testimony. He recalled Marquita turning off the light in the bedroom, making it dark. He said he reached for his bag and pulled out the divorce papers. Marquita, he claimed, lunged toward the front wall, as if to run. That's when he grabbed his gun and started firing. He testified that he wasn't even looking at Marquita. He insisted that he didn't intend to shoot her and that the whole situation felt like a nightmare. The forensic evidence contradicted his claims. Despite saying he aimed at the wall had not been struck once. Instead, Marquita had been shot multiple times. The argument that it was an accident or that he was shooting blindly did not hold up against the physical evidence. During the trial, Ashton's defense team also attempted to argue that his mental state was compromised and that he did not act with intent. However, the prosecution dismantled this argument, showing the jury that Ashton's actions were deliberate. He had purchased the firearm just weeks before the murder, after his first gun had been hidden from him by Marquita, who feared for her safety. He had posted on Facebook, showing signs of premeditation. He had left the scene, driven his son away, and attempted to dispose of the weapon. These were not the actions of someone who had accidentally fired a gun. These were the actions of a man who had intentionally killed his wife. The jury was given the option to convict Ashton of murder or the lesser charge of manslaughter. After hearing all the evidence, they deliberated and returned a guilty verdict for murder. Ashton Neroes was sentenced to 50 years in prison and fined $10,000. The judge also modified the ruling to include a deadly weapon finding, further solidifying the severity of the crime. Despite his conviction, Ashton appealed the verdict, arguing that there was insufficient evidence to prove he had the required mental state for murder. However, the appeal was denied. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury had made their decision based on the facts Ashton had intentionally, knowingly, and deliberately killed Marquita. While justice was served in the courtroom, the pain and devastation left behind were immeasurable. Marquita's 3 children had lost their mother in the most brutal way imaginable, and their father would now spend decades behind bars. Marquita's parents, Mark and Ashton McCleary, were left to raise their grandchildren, taking on an immense responsibility they never anticipated. A GoFundMe was set up to help support the children's future, and the community rallied behind them. The McCleary Grandchildren Fund was initially set at a goal of $10,000, but after overwhelming support, it has surpassed $11,340 and continues to accept donations. On October 24, 2020, friends and family gathered at the Eternal Rest Funeral Home in DeSoto, Texas, to say their final goodbyes to Marquita. The tragedy of her murder served as a reminder of the dangers of domestic violence, and her name became part of a painful but necessary conversation about protecting those in abusive relationships. To the outside world, Marquita and Ashton had once seemed like a loving couple, but behind closed doors, their marriage had turned into a nightmare, one that ultimately ended in cold-blooded murder. Now, Ashton sits in a Texas prison, serving his sentence, while Marquita's family and children are left to pick up the pieces of a life shattered by his actions. No one should live in fear, and no one deserves to lose their life at the hands of someone they once trusted. My condolences to her friends and family. May you continue to heal and one day find peace. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.